Sectors Up Close. I'm Elena Casas. Today we're talking about investing in the Middle East, specifically the Gulf nations, and we'll be joined by Stephen Shoenfeld, Chief Executive of MarketVector Indexes. Well, it's a truism to say that oil and gas have made many Gulf nations rich. That wealth and where it goes is a rare source of capital in a world beset by inflation, rising interest rates, and of course the war in Ukraine. Xi Jinping's recent visit to Saudi Arabia was a first for a Chinese leader, and energy contracts were at the top of the agenda, as are attempts to lure more funds and fund managers to cities like Dubai and Doha. And the World Cup in Qatar has helped put the country on the map. There aren't many places in the world that could afford to splash more than $200 billion on a single event. But while these nations may have the cash to splash, equity investors in the region haven't always scored. The MSCI GCC countries combined index has managed to lose about 7% so far this year, better than the S&P 500, but far worse than some other EM markets such as Chile. This index is heavily weighted in favour of Saudi Arabia, with more than 60% of the index, as well as banks and financials. So, how best to invest in the Gulf nations? Here to tell us is Stephen Shoenfeld. Stephen, hi, thanks for joining us. The World Cup, of course, has drawn a huge amount of attention to Qatar, but has it actually created investment opportunities?
I think other than just familiarity, getting to know the countries, not just Qatar, but its neighbors, beyond that, it really hasn't created any immediate opportunities. There might have been hopes for that, but it certainly hasn't been realized. I'd say the biggest factor moving the Gulf markets is still the price of oil and natural gas, and that has not been in an uptrend over the last few months.
Well, that would have been my next question. Given, of course, that oil and natural gas did spike earlier this year, why isn't the year-to-date performance for the regional index a bit stronger?
So one should recognize that the regional index, as well as the major markets in the region, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, have outperformed the broad emerging market index, not just US equities. So on a relative scale, they've done reasonably well this year. However, they had their run-up when oil prices were surging. And so it's inevitable that there will be some correction and disappointment as energy prices have come down.
But these countries are trying to diversify away from oil and gas, aren't they? So is that creating opportunities for foreign investors?
Undoubtedly, there are opportunities in each of these countries. I would have to say that the UAE has been the most forward-leaning in creating real investment opportunities. It already was the most international and most globally oriented economy. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are real world cities and are open to trade and investment. So there's many trends, particularly in the UAE, including increased trade with Africa, with Asia, and most recently because of the Abraham Accords with Israel. That makes me very optimistic about their ability to keep diversifying their economy.
You're saying then that there's quite a lot of disparity in the opportunities between different countries in the region?
Yes. Qatar has, as you said, put on a great show, but we're yet to see that that's going to realize tangible opportunities. Whereas UAE has a very active business class, very active investors investing themselves around the world and in the region, and that makes it attractive for inward investment. The big unknown and also the big potential is the continued sort of slow but steady liberalization in Saudi Arabia. I think the government very much wants to open up. How quickly that will happen, how quickly actual investment opportunities for portfolio investment will be realized, can't tell you, but it will be a big story, whether it's for 2023 or 2024. I do see that becoming, it's also the biggest economy in the Gulf.
Away from fossil fuels then, Stephen, in what sectors of these economies do you see opportunity?
So Dubai is undoubtedly the financial center of the Gulf. You have major banks and asset managers who are benefiting from the growing wealth. As oil prices go up, those who benefit from it put money in banks and investors. You also have what I would call broad trading companies, very similar to the old Japanese trading companies, the Keiretsu, that are doing business all over the world and have representation all over the world is a very good proxy. I would also look deeper into financial services beyond banks, and you have insurance companies that are active all over the region and are beginning to make investments beyond. Those would be my favorite areas.
Well, thanks so much for that insight, Stephen Shoenfeld, CEO of MarketVector Indexes. Well, that was our look at opportunities for investing in Gulf nations. I'm Elena Casas, and this is Reuters.